Hi, my name is Jake and I'm a motion designer from Ukraine.
And now we will make this effect. As you've probably guessed, this logo reveal template will be also in my Vfx Bundle update, as well as these footages of lightning, which you can use in any of these apps as overlays. Vfx Bundle is my collection of effects from this YouTube channel, which were inspired by popular movies. Now I'm affiliated to Envato Elements. This means if you purchase subscription to Envato Elements via link in description, you'll get access to massive library of After Effects templates, stock footages, photos, graphics and more, including my Vfx Bundle. And it will be the best way to support my channel. Just purchase subscription using link in description to this video. And you'll get not only my Vfx Bundle, but also you'll get access to massive library of After Effects templates, photos, graphics, fonts, video footages and much more.
Let's get started.
I'm using Adobe After Effects CC 2015. This footage right here you have in description below, so you can download it and follow along. Left mouse click on this footage and drag on this icon here to create new composition. Right mouse click on this moment here, go to Time, Freeze Frame. And let's create our lightning. I'll be honest with you, I've used Andrew Kramer technique to create this effect, and of course I've used my own settings to get this look which I wanted. Also, I created my own glow technique, which you'll see later. So let's go to Layer, New, Solid, and call it Lightning. Make sure this is comp size and click OK. Now go to Effect and Presets here and type Advanced Lightning and drag and drop on our layer here. We will use quite complicated technique of glowing, so we need to make sure that our project is in 32 bits per channel. So hold Alt key on keyboard and left mouse click here to change it to 32. Now let's go to effect controls here. I've used a bunch of different combinations. I think this breaking lightning type works best. We need to shut down this glow effect because we will add it later. So here at the glow opacity, let's set it to 0. And now let's work with core settings. Open here and let's change this color to more bluish. Hue, let's set it to 226, saturation to 96. And brightness to 95. You can type these values to get exactly the same color and click OK. Now let's set our floor so our lightning will interact with it. Select this rectangle tool here and then draw a mask like this. So now we can change this alpha obstacle to about 15, and as you can see it's cutting our lightning at our mask. Let's change turbulence here. I've set mine to 0.74. And forking I've changed to 30%. Let's change decay to about 0.14. Let's open this expert settings and change this termination threshold to about 5%. Now let's change our origin position to my finger here. And this other point, let's change it to get same kind of result. Now let's go back to expert settings. Here at the beginning, let's set a keyframe to core drain. Let's set it to 100%. And 2 frames later, let's set to 5%. So as you can see, we give this animation like it's coming out of my finger. And then hold Alt key on keyboard and click on this fork strength. And here we can type wiggle, open bracket, 9, 70, close bracket. I've used this value and it works best. It gives more life to our lightning. Let's also change this value here. I'll set it to 37 and also hold alternative key on keyboard and left mouse click on this stopwatch. And then type wiggle, open bracket, 1, 30, close bracket and click anywhere. This is how I get this lightning effect instead of electricity effect. Let's also animate a bit our core radius. Set our time keyframe at the beginning. Set a keyframe here at core radius. Left mouse click on this stopwatch. And let's set it to 1.4. Select our layer and press U on keyboard to see our keyframes. Then here, 2 frames later, let's change it to 5. Press also F9 on keyboard to make this keyframe softer. Also select this keyframe as well and press F9. And like 10 frames later, let's change it to 1. And about 15 frames later, let's set it to 0.1 and cut this layer off. So with this core radius animation, we give this impulse in our lightning, as you can see. Now we can close this tab here and duplicate this layer below. Just select it and press Ctrl D on keyboard to duplicate. Then select these 2 layers and go to Layer, Pre-compose. And let's call it Lightning as well. And click OK. Open this composition and disable this footage right here. Go back to our footage composition. And now let's work on our reflections. Let's drop some texture in this composition. Go to Project. And this texture image will be in description below to download as well. So drag and drop into our composition here. Click here toggle switch to see this 3D layer icon. Click it here to make it 3D. Then press R on keyboard to see our rotation. And let's change X rotation to -90 degrees. Move it below, like here. And by grabbing these arrows, move it over, like this. And let's pre-compose this as well. Go to Layer, Pre-compose. Let's call it Texture. Click here to move all attributes. And click OK. So this is our base lightning effect. Let's duplicate, press Return on keyboard. And let's rename it to Long Reflection. Let's disable our texture layer for now. Let's add more effects to this long reflection composition. First of all, let's add some linear wipe. So if you saw Andrew Kramer tutorial, this part will be familiar for you. We need to have this contact point with our ground. So let's change wipe angle to 180 degrees. Disable this lightning effect to see what we are working on. And then just cut top off, like this. So we would have only this part here. So maybe 92.3 in my case. You need to have only this part here to create reflection. Then let's add some fast blur or Gaussian blur. Change it to 10 and make it only horizontal. Then duplicate this effect, select it and press Ctrl D. Change it to vertical and let's make this long reflection. So we will drag up to 150 maybe. To see better our reflection, we need to add also solid composite and drag it here and change it to black. And finally, let's add some exposure. Let's set exposure way up and change this value until we will see our reflection. I'll set it to 10. And finally, let's duplicate this linear wipe once again. Select and press Ctrl D on keyboard. Drag it down. And let's cut this top off. Let's enable our lightning. Let's also change this long reflection to add here. And then change this value to get a similar result, like this. Also, let's set feather to 15. So we will have this long reflection. Now let's also change our track matte to Luma matte. So as you can see, now we have added some texture here. Let's also maybe change this value to 15 to see it better. And gamma correction maybe to 0.9. Now let's create some hotspot reflection right here. So select this long reflection and texture. Then press Ctrl D to duplicate. And this one below, let's rename it to point reflection. So let's change our first blur to about 20 and second one to about 8. And let's change exposure to about 10. As you can see, now we have a much brighter contact point, which gives more depth to our reflection. Let's also change our feather of linear wipe to about 60 to make it more subtle. And finally, for our reflection, let's add some ambient reflection, as I call it. Select these two by holding Ctrl and selecting two of these. Then press Ctrl D or go to Edit, Duplicate. And let's call it Ambient Reflection. Press Return and type Ambient Reflection. So let's once again change this blur value to about 150 and second one to about 125, and maybe add some exposure. I've changed mine to 16, and also let's change feather to about 60. So as you can see, with this ambient reflection, we've added more glow to our ground from our lightning. Now let's add some glow to our lightning. Select this lightning layer below, press Ctrl D to make a copy, drag it above, let's set it to add as well, and let's add some effects to it. Let's start with solid composite, drag and drop on our layer, set it to black. It will give to our lightning more prominent look. And then let's add some glow, stylize glow, and drag it below. I've used a 0% here. Here I've set to 25, and intensity I've set to 0.1. As you can see, we've added just one tight little glow. Let's duplicate, and now let's add some more ambient glow. Here at glow radius, let's set much bigger value, like 110. It gives this fill glow effect, which I prefer. And let's duplicate and give it one final glow. Select it and press Ctrl D on keyboard. Glow radius, I've set it to 350. So we'll have a lot of glow here. Let's also add hue and saturation and drop our saturation to about -20. So we'll have this more settled colors. And since we're creating our lightning, we need to have this really bright look to it. So let's add some exposure. Drag it below and let's set it to 1.15. As you can see, we have a lot of glow, but I want to have more dynamic range in our colors. Let's rename it to glow. Then press Ctrl D on keyboard to duplicate, and let's call it black and white. Here we are going to delete our hue and saturation. Select it and press delete on keyboard, and exposure as well. But instead, let's add some tint effect to it, right below solid composite. As you can see, we now have this really bright spot, then this cyan look, and then bluish colors. This technique I've discovered to work best to give this wide range color of our glow. If you will look at the movie itself, as you can see, here is also this wide range from white to this cyan color and then to bluish. So with this technique, with black and white overlay, gives this similar effect. So let's also create our hotspot. Go to Layer, New, Solid. Let's change it to white. Call it Hotspot and click OK. Then click here, hold it, and select Ellipse tool. From center, let's draw a circle, click and drag. Then hold Ctrl and Shift to make it perfect circle, and draw a circle like this. Then open this mask, expansion to about this small, and feather, let's set it to about 5. Then duplicate this mask, press Ctrl D on keyboard, open it, change expansion to make a bigger circle, also change the feather to about 12. Then again duplicate it, open it, make wider circle, and change mask feather to about 115. And finally duplicate it once again, change expansion to about this size, and feather it like this. Now let's add some solid composite to this, change it to black, change mode to add, and let's add some curves to change color. Change channel to blue, let's add some blue here. In red channel, let's bring it down to get this similar color. Okay, it looks good. Now let's animate it. Let's solo this layer and layer below to see only my finger and this hotspot. Place it right here at my finger. Then press S on keyboard to see our scale and change it to 0 at the beginning. Set a keyframe, and about here let's set it to 55. Here let's set it to 35, and about here to 0. Then select all of our keyframes and press F9 on keyboard. So we will have this animation. Let's uncheck our solo mode and let's preview this. So as you can see here, we have this unwanted part. So let's select all of our layers with the lightning and cut to this moment. Okay, it looks pretty good. Let's also add some burn spot on our ground. So let's create new layer, go to Layer, new solid. Let's call it burn spot. Now add some fractal noise. Let's change our contrast to about 500 and brightness to about -100. And let's add some CC radial fast blur. I've set my value to about 90. And with this ellipse tool, let's draw a circle as well. Just click and draw like this. Hold Ctrl and Shift to make it perfect circle, about this size. And press F to change feather. I'll set mine to 300 and maybe let's increase our expansion. Now click this on toggle switch here. Click here, then press R on keyboard and change X rotation to -90 degree. Then press on this selection tool and move it onto our ground. Let's also press on toggle switch and change mode to multiply. Then press T to change our opacity. I'll set mine to 55 and move it right here down this streak. Let's move it over here and place it under here. Maybe change our opacity to about 75. Let's preview this. So as you can see, now we have our burn mark. And finally, let me show you how to make our lightning follow your finger. Open our lightning composition. Let's select our footage, enable it, right mouse click on it and go to time, enable time remapping. Move it to the point where we want our lightning to appear. Select advanced lightning effect and set a keyframe to our origin. Move it to our finger here, skip few frames, adjust it, again skip few frames, adjust it to your finger, once again skip few frames, adjust it, and let's see result. So now as you can see it follows my finger, then disable our footage and go to footage composition. Select our footage here, then right mouse click on it and go to time, enable time remapping. Let's disable our hotspot for now, and then select all of these layers of our lightning and burn spot and move it over. Let's find the place where our lightning needs to appear, like here. We can also move this hotspot here, enable it, press P on keyboard and create a keyframe. Also let's track our finger using arrows. Skip few frames, again track our finger, skip few frames, adjust it, skip more frames, and now you can preview result. As you can see now our lightning is following my finger. You can also go to lightning and change color of it if you want. Just select this lightning layer, go to core settings and change to any color you want, like this. And you can check result here. I also would recommend to have some flashlight in your scene when you're shooting this video. So you would flash with the flashlight on your actor to give the light on his body. In my previous example, I just rotoscoped this part of myself. Also, you can change brightness of your scene. Let me show you. You can go to layer, new, adjustment layer, set it below here, and add some curves to it. And about here when it starts, you can cut this layer, create a keyframe, and about here, set brightness of our scene way lower, like this. If our camera would see something bright and make all scene darker, so we are trying to simulate this effect. And about here, click reset, then press U on keyboard, select all of these layers, maybe spread it a bit, press F9 on keyboard to make this animation more softer. Maybe let's spread this a bit more and maybe not make this so dark. And finally we can add some camera shake. Go to our project, grab our footage and drag and drop on this composition to create our final composition. Let's rename it to final, then add some motion tile effect, set these values to 300 and click on this checkbox here. Then press R on keyboard and you can add some animation by changing these values a bit. This is kinda the easiest way to add some camera shake, but you can also check for the plugins to make it more believable. But for tutorial I think it looks good. Also, you need to know which settings to use to render this footage. So let's go to Composition, Add to Render Queue. Here at Output Modules, you need to select QuickTime and click OK. And select where you want to save your video and click Render. With this output module, you'll save all your colors.
Make sure to subscribe to see more. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.